Hey, Chapel Warriors. It is Tammy here. Henry over here. Say hey, Henry Ball.
Hey, Henry Ball.
You see, he's got the free Mike Chapel button. We are here to start a new series of Q&As here for you. And I say new series because we're going to be focused on the next series of what comes now. What comes after the judge has his ruling for Mike's life? And of course, we're praying that Mike gets out and has an opportunity to have a future on the outside. So that's what we are looking forward to, right, Henry?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Free Mike Chapel.
Free Mike Chapel. Free Mike Chapel. So if you have been paying attention, you got a little teaser today. How exciting was that? Anybody excited about the teaser of the podcast? Anybody out there? Great. Of course, I've been listening. I've had a little in. I have had a little in since the beginning because I got to take part in that. You'll hear my voice a little bit in there. And I'm excited about that too, because I, of course, have been here all along. And I say all along, the last 5 years, I have been taking part in the saga. And I wish it didn't have to be a saga, but when you throw a man in jail for over half of his life and he didn't do anything wrong, that creates a saga. And that's just part of the story, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so, and I should take this opportunity to tell you what Matt, our production partner, told me after he did your interview. He said that might have been the easiest interview I ever did. I just asked her name and tell me all about the story, and I never had to ask her anything else. She was very well spoken, and the interview was great. And then I listened back to it, and certainly he was correct. So we'll be using a lot of that interview in the A Thin Blue Crime podcast. And thank you for mentioning the trailer. We did drop it today. I would like to ask everybody if you would do me a huge favor. I probably should have done it this way. I probably should have released the trailer through Spotify, but it is up on Spotify. There's another podcast called Thin Blue Crime, not A Thin Blue Crime. So make sure you look at the right one. But if you'll go to A Thin Blue Crime and follow us on Spotify, I would be very grateful.
Your researcher there did a great job in getting a title for you, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, when we fly up to the top there will be no issue finding you, I'm sure.
Yeah. So,
well, we appreciate all of you guys because we wouldn't be here without you, Chapel Warriors. And as we have gotten to this point, we know that we're going to continue to grow because once the story of A Thin Blue Crime comes out, you'll understand why we are in the place we are today. And that, yes, it is about freeing Mike Chapel, but it is also about what has happened over these last 3 years. And Henry and I were talking about it the other day, like 3 years. It's already been 3 years since a line was drawn in the sand and things kind of flipped on their heads. And you'll learn more about that here as well. This is a Q&A, so make sure you guys send in questions because we don't want to just talk about things. We want to answer your questions.
Ashley is saying that we're not live on my page, but it's showing that we are on here. I don't know what's going on. We have a few viewers on here, but I don't know if they're coming through YouTube or what, but she's saying it's not showing as live on my Facebook page.
Yeah, I see that.
So I don't know. I mean, it's showing live on the stream here, so I don't know what to do about that. Ashley, it is
YouTube
it
for
is
the
up
win.
on YouTube.
Yeah.
So if you want to go to our YouTube link, and maybe if somebody could post that, I did a PSA in the group, sending everybody to my page. But since my page is not showing up, if somebody could put a little PSA post to send them to the YouTube link, I will have to say we pay way too much for StreamYard for this to be a problem every time.
Yes.
I'm falling out of love with StreamYard.
Yeah, if somebody will post that, because I'm not even allowed, it won't even let me, a host, put that in there.
Yeah, so let me do it real quick.
Henry Ball Investigates on YouTube. At Henry Ball Investigates on YouTube.
Yeah.
So we'd appreciate that, somebody. Like we said, we can't do it without you guys. It takes a village, and we appreciate all of you for what you are doing for us and for what
on my profile, it's got a live thing around me. Yeah, you just got to click on my profile picture. That's wild. So my profile picture had a live icon on it, and if you click on it, then the stream pops up. That's wild. So, Ashley, if you're listening, if you'll go to my Facebook page, it shows live on the profile. And if you click on the profile, it takes you into the live stream. So I don't know why that is, but that's pretty wild.
I'm not catching, I don't even see that. But
so
I don't need to get in there, so if somebody else can see it, that's good.
That is frustrating.
Yeah.
April, can you post in the group and send everybody to Henry Ball Investigates on YouTube? At Henry Ball Investigates.
Hey, Barbara. Thank you for joining. That's my mother-in-law.
Hey, mother-in-law, Tammy's mother-in-law. So let's just go ahead and continue, Tammy. Hopefully people can catch up. And
somebody's posted on the group.
The numbers going up a little bit. So
yeah,
hopefully people are finding us.
Okay. So yes, what we were saying is that we had some exciting news earlier today with a teaser that A Thin Blue Crime podcast was dropped. The teaser, which was the trailer. So if you haven't caught that, you got to click on the link, because you'll be super excited to hear that and what's going to be coming out of that. You think you heard the podcast before. We're just going to jump right on over that one. And you're not going to, you're just going to be so excited about it.
Well, let me say a word about that. Of course, there's been a lot of drama with the In the Land of Lies podcast. It was a very well-made podcast.
Yes.
A lot of us participated in that project, and
it helped a lot.
Yeah, and it did the initial job that I was hoping that it would do, and what I recruited Mr. Kite for. It's water under the bridge at this point. We all know what happened and what occurred, and so we've gone a different direction. But I can tell you that I was very insistent and very particular and meticulous to make sure that we were not just redoing the podcast. We are not doing that. In fact, there was a lot of information. If you remember, not long after the live event, we actually did a Q&A, and we talked about the fact that we had enough information at that point for an entire second season. And there was reasons that they didn't want to do a production at that point or what have you. But that was in 2023. And so much information has has come forward since then, the forensics and things that just absolutely, turn the case on its head. And so this podcast will be completely different. Yes, we will tell the fundamental Michael Chappell story, but what we're doing it in a different way than it happened in the Land of Lies, because we're actually using the trial audio, and we're recreating the 1993 narrative from 1993 or from 1995. So essentially, everyone will get to hear what the jury heard. Everyone will get to hear, the evidence and kind of hear it from the state's perspective. And then we'll talk about, the issues and the challenges with that case. And we will tell the full story. And as always, as usual, we have the receipts. So we're going to bring the receipts, and we're going to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And as I have always said, may the truth prevail.
Right. And, like Henry talks about, he has the receipts. And that's one of the things I've always appreciated, is that with any good investigator, and I think the words may have been armchair investigator. Is that how they used that at you? Henry is anything but.
No. When there was the insulting term was lay investigator.
Okay, lay investigator.
Yeah.
Anything but.
Which essentially means, common, not very good.
Yes.
Mediocre, basically.
But you're going to see or hear through the podcast how many people that Henry was able to find, pull together, get to share their take on everything. And it's not just opinion based. There are facts and more facts that back in 93 through 95 were hidden from you, and even hidden for 30 years because the state did not want to allow it. The county boxed things up, and that was kind of where we were when we left off in 93.
Put the link in the
we had 7 sealed boxes that came from 1993.
To
and when we had come to the point where the judge had said, or they had held back on that last habeas. Remember that, Henry? That last habeas in August, they had pushed it back, and then the judge said, hold up, we're not going to do this time. I want to know what's in those boxes. And we were all just so grateful, because hallelujah, they're finally going to get open. Let's see what's in there, which was a great thing, because we had so many things and things that came out that we were even able to use.
Yeah. And, that's the funny thing. I mean, we look back on it now, the habeas petition was filed in March of 2023. So over 3 years. And, all of those delays weren't, I don't even want to use the word nefarious, but all of them weren't with agendas. A couple of the delays were from our side, trying to get all of the information in front of the judge. And that was a big one. And, getting those boxes unsealed and the judge giving us time to go through those boxes was crucial. And it's funny, a lot of the information in the boxes didn't make its way in front of the judge. A lot of the information did. But it showed that, there was a lot more to Mike's defense than he was allowed to present. And if you read Billy's brief in support, his final brief, and then the proposed order, Billy did a really good job of laying out the case point by point, detail by detail. And you don't recognize it, but a lot of that information that we found is in that brief. And And so the judge is considering that. And some of the things that are in that brief, are quote unquote, weren't admitted. But that doesn't stop him from explaining, it all to the judge. And so my thing, and it was something I was worried about until I read Billy's, final brief and then the proposed order. I was worried that the judge wasn't going to have the whole story. I was worried that he was going to have this very narrow view, which is very important, but the view from Tukey and from the forensics experts. But it was really because we got the boxes open and some of the information we found in the boxes that allowed us to kind of convince the judge to let us bring the experts in. So at the end of the day, it all became very important, and it all became very
it tied a lot of loose ends together.
Yeah, and it just all became very relevant to the case. The rest of the delays because we wanted to fight over this and we wanted to fight over that, and then the state wanted to kind of pull some shenanigans and multiple motions to dismiss. The judge had to rule multiple times on the same exact issue and tell the state multiple times, no, if the story's credible, it's a Brady violation. Mm-hmm. And the judge even put that in writing and then had to do it again. And so I feel really good about where we are. I feel like the judge understands the case, and it really boils down to it, if any of Tukey's story is true, and of course I believe it is for multiple reasons. One, because I had him sit for a polygraph examination and he passed it. And, he's not some special forces agent that's learned how to take polygraphs or whatever. He's a guy that, probably had not.
The actual factuals.
What's that?
It's the actual factuals.
And he delivered the actual factuals. But there are so many things, and I think people, it's funny because it's hard to bring everything out in different formats. But when you read through the book, mm-hmm. Killing Henry, you're going to see all of this kind of brought together in that last chapter. Mm-hmm. And it's just amazing. And there's points that he says that there is no possible way he could have made it up. And I'm going to give you one example. I'm going to I'm giving you a spoiler from my book, but you'll all remember when he gave his testimony and he said, I was standing there. I saw the gunshot, or I saw the muzzle flash. I heard the gunshot. I saw her fall to the ground. And I said, oh shoot. He said, they heard me. And, he's backing away on the other side of the road. There's a car going by, and immediately those guys run down to Peachtree Industrial with their flashlights looking for him, right? Because they heard him. They heard him say, oh, shoot. I have a police report by another uninvolved police officer who took a statement from a couple who was driving down Peachtree Industrial on the night in question and saw two white males running on the Gwencoe side of Peachtree Industrial. He couldn't make that up. He could not make that up. And so when you look at the totality of his statement, mm-hmm. it only makes sense as the truth. The state convicted Mike because of two gunshots in the vehicle, close contact, back of the victim's head. His story is, and of course, he wasn't at the trial. He probably wasn't, tracking it. He certainly wasn't in our Facebook group. And his story was,
she's killed outside.
I saw him shoot her once. Well, if you're making that story up, why aren't you going to make up a story to match the state's case? Well, I saw him shoot her twice. No, because that's the truth of the matter. He saw them shoot her once. Then they placed her in the car. And as Dr. Speary pointed out, then she was shot in the car post-mortem. Mm-hmm. And that makes sense to the crime scene. And so you just can't make that up. And then another example of that is her umbrella. I think he called it her umbrella. Mm-hmm. You know, when I was questioning him way back in 2022, I was questioning him about her purse. I wanted to know the description of her purse. And he said, well, I couldn't really see it. It was tucked under her arm and they were holding her umbrella. And well, of course, I've got the picture of the umbrella at her feet lying in the car where she was found. And I said, well, what color was it? Now, this is 28 years later, and you're describing an umbrella. Now, if you're making a story up and you're saying, well, because I knew it was raining, so I'm making a story up about somebody's umbrella, and I ask you what color was the umbrella, what are you going to say? You're going to say, oh, red, black, rainbow color, anything but brown. But he described a brown umbrella, and I've got a picture of a brown umbrella laying on the floorboard of her car. So, yep. That was one of the things that made me say, hey, he was there. Like this is not a made up story. Yeah. And so I believe the judge has all that. I believe the judge understands all that. And
that being said, I know people are on the edge of their seats waiting for that judge to make a decision. Explain to everybody what happens. What are we waiting on exactly?
Well, now we're only waiting on the judge. Somebody had made a post a month and a half ago and said, it's in the judge's hands. And that wasn't quite true at that point because there were the objection that was filed by Billy, that the ruling on that, then the transcript, the transcript had to be filed by the clerk. All of that occurred. I forget what date it was, but that put Billy on the clock to file his brief in support. He filed his brief in support within the 30 days. I think it took him about 25. And he filed. That put the state on the clock. They went right up to their deadline, and they filed on their 30th day deadline, which they filed a proposed order. And then Billy had the option of either filing a rebuttal, or what he chose to do was file his own proposed order in lieu of a rebuttal, which I think was smart because it basically gave the judge, a workable ruling that he could use and that he could work from. And I have to say, I mean, this is not to cast any shade on Mr. Malcolm. He did his job, and he's certainly a capable attorney. He and I certainly went head to head a couple of times. But Billy's briefing and Billy's legal writing in this case, his briefs and his final proposed order, and really his argument around the Brady violation was just absolutely brilliant. And what's odd is that, and I don't think that it is that he doesn't understand, but Mr. Malcolm mischaracterized our Brady violation in every single document he filed. And Billy explained it in response in every single document. And the judge literally said in writing that Billy was correct. If the story is true, it's a Brady violation. And even after that, Mr. Malcolm still mischaracterized the Brady violation. Now, I don't think it's because he didn't understand. I think it's because he didn't have any other argument. Mm-hmm. And so I just have to say that whatever happens, and I certainly had issues along the way with some of the things that happened in the case, but whatever happens, Billy did a great job, and I've talked to numerous attorneys who have read up on his Brady violation, and they all agree it's excellent.
So the judge he can either just do a ruling and say, here it is, this is what we're going to do, you're staying or you're going, or he can call a hearing where we're all brought in and he can actually lay it out there, which is what we would really want, so we can be there.
Yeah, I would love that to be the case. And I actually posed that question to Billy, and Billy said that he thought that he was probably just going to file a ruling. The judge, it's in the judge's discretion. He can certainly schedule a hearing if he chooses to do so. But Billy was of the impression that he would not, that he would likely just issue a ruling. And so what that does is that means that it could come any day, and we're probably not going to have a lot of heads up. We may get a little bit of a heads up, but probably not much. And so where we stand is, and I've explained this before, but I'll just break it down as I understand it, is that the judge can do one of three things. He can deny the petition, which in effect upholds the conviction and leaves Mike, status as it is currently. I have to say that because that is one of the three options, but it's not what I think is going to happen. And the other two options are that he can vacate the conviction without prejudice, which essentially means he finds reason Mike's rights are violated. He didn't get a fair trial. But by doing so without prejudice, it gives Gwinnett County the option to retry Mike. So it's essentially calling for a retrial. And then the judge can give a deadline by which they have to bring new charges or exonerate them. And my personal belief is that if that is the judge's decision, that there probably won't be a new trial, because I don't believe Gwinnett County would try to retry this case. That said, that's one option. The other option is that the judge could vacate the sentence with prejudice, which means he finds Michael Chappell is likely innocent. And not only did J.P. Morgan take Brady material to his grave, but more likely than not, J.P. Morgan was the perpetrator. And if the judge finds as such, then Mike would essentially be free to go and he would be exonerated. And that is what we hope will occur. So those are the three options.
Yeah. Well, we just wait. And while we wait, I want to talk again about the podcast. So when can we expect the first episode?
So we are working very diligently to drop episodes this month. We are also working under the contingency that should the judge spring a ruling on us, we need to be prepared to drop, an episode like immediately. And the first and second episode are actually complete. Couple of little tweaks being made. We are working on the third and fourth episode. And what we'd like to do is we'd like to have at least 4 or 5 episodes done. So when we start releasing, as we're continuing to finish, we kind of don't catch up, and find ourselves not being able to make a weekly schedule. So when we start releasing, which will either be the 3rd or last week of July, we will release an episode per week from then on. And we're planning for at least a 10 episode season to start with.
Okay. And I know in addition to that, we also have a book coming, Killing Henry, which just sounds terrible, but that's what you feel like you've been through, don't you?
Well, you have to read the book to understand the title, and
It
it's
makes
not.
sense, y'all. I mean, I've
It's
walked some of it with him, and I haven't felt like I'm dying, but my heart has been
well,
grieved a
it,
lot.
and it's not really about my feelings.
Hmm.
It's about you just have to read the
Just
book to
going after
understand it.
you,
Yeah,
you know?
it's metaphorical in a couple of
Hmm.
ways, and honestly, it starts as one metaphor and ends as another, and I can't really tell you because you'll read into it and you'll understand it.
Hmm.
And so all I can say is that I am very anxious for the book to be or not to be completed, but to be published.
Hmm.
We were ready to publish it really at the end of last year, but since the habeas was on the docket and we were certain that the habeas was going to come off this time, we went ahead and waited. And then once we got there and the judge kind of created this pleadings schedule that extended the wait period, it's going to put us at almost a year since we announced the book. But there was also a lot of stuff that happened in that period that kind of had to make its way into the book. And
Hmm.
so I actually finished the book this weekend. I predicted the outcome. I'm not going to tell you what the prediction is, but
Have you jinxed us?
I predicted the outcome, and I have the book ready to hit send. Well, my sister's doing a final edit pass. My editor, but she's also my sister. So she's doing a final edit pass, but we will have the book ready to hit send to the printer as soon as we hear from the judge, and
So we got a
prayerfully
question.
my prediction comes true.
We have a question. What has been the hardest part of writing Killing Henry?
living living
Living.
Killing Henry. Like you said, you walked through that with me, and a lot of the Chapel Warriors did. A lot of the people in
Hmm.
this group, a lot of the people watching right now, kind of walked through it with us.
Hmm.
So you all know
Yeah.
it's and it's in some ways it's ongoing. I mean,
Yeah.
the people that you would have thought by now would recognize that, hey, it's time for you to it's time for you to go somewhere else and do something else.
Yeah.
Just refuse to
Lay
give
down the
up.
swords.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, I tell you, it's a darn good book. And I hate that you had to go through it, that we've all had to go through it to get here, because it started off as an honorable mission, and we're still fighting for it. And we haven't changed what we're doing to free Mike Chapel. And so we're in it to win it,
absolutely,
right? We're in it to win
absolutely.
it.
Yeah.
So,
So if I could leave everybody, I asked a favor earlier. I'm going to repeat that favor. If you haven't yet, please go find A Thin Blue Crime on Spotify. Make sure it's A Thin Blue Crime by Henry Ball. There is another podcast called Thin Blue Crime. It's not that one. A Thin Blue Crime by Henry Ball. And just follow us on Spotify. That way it will be easier to find when we start dropping episodes. And Spotify will know that people are interested in the podcast. So please do that. If you want to share it, share it. But definitely follow us on Spotify. And then I had posted this. If you haven't yet gone to @ScottRyfun, that's Scott Ryfun, Ryfun, on YouTube. Please do so. Scott is the most listened to man in South Georgia. He's had me on his radio program numerous times. He's been a very big supporter of the Michael Chapel is Innocent project, and he's starting his own new media outlet, and he's trying to get to a certain number on YouTube. And so I would love for all of us Chapel Warriors to support him. It's a free subscription, YouTube subscription. So just YouTube, maybe like a couple of his videos, and just let him know you were there, and like us on Spotify or follow us on Spotify, and stay tuned because there's a lot more to come.
Yep. Well, we did have one last question sneak in, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
What has been the most shocking thing you learned while investigating the case? How do you narrow that
down? Before I answer that question, I have to know who asked it.
Nero Bella?
That is quite the loaded question. And honestly, it's one I would have to think about.
Well, maybe we hit it on the next one.
There have been a lot of shocking questions, and yeah, maybe that's a good idea. Maybe stay tuned and join in our next Q&A next week, next Tuesday. And it is next Tuesday, right? Yes.
Yes.
And I'll have a better answer for you. But I will say this. There have been a lot of shocking moments, a lot of shocking information. As regards the case, I think some of the things don't seem as like shocking to us in the Michael Chappell is Innocent project because we've talked about it all so much. But when I learned that like all of the police brass was at JP Morgan's house when Bodie Hurst, a patrol officer, came in and deleted, not only a suicide note, but all of this information on these hard drives, it just blew me away. It's like there's just no higher level of corruption than the entire, the entire police brass. And then when we open the unsealed boxes, and I guess I'll just share this publicly because it's out there now, and it's in my book, and it's going to be in a Thin Blue Crime. But when I found out that Bodie Hurst and Bodie Hurst business partner, predominantly Bodie Hurst business partner, blackmailed GCPD to make that investigation go away, and it in fact went away, I was absolutely shocked. And there's so much more though. I mean, honestly, those are just like
stay tuned,
tip of the iceberg kind of things. And I mean, I hate to say this. I'm not saying this to like, toot my own horn or what have you, but I mean, killing Henry is over 100,000 words. And I don't think you're going to turn to a single page and read a single page that you're not going to read something shocking. That
is the truth.
Page after page after page after page. And so thanks for the question. Yep. And I hope I somewhat sufficiently answered it, but please come back. Tammy, make a note that we've got to revisit that question.
Okay.
And we'll try to give you some more on that next week.
All right. Well, we appreciate all of you joining us here. Make sure to come back, set your alarms for Tuesdays at 7:00 for Q&As with Tammy and Henry. And we will be able to give you all the latest dirt and information on the Michael Chappell case and the Thin Blue Crime and killing Henry. And hopefully by next week, we will have heard from the judge. And always remember that we just want to free Mike Chappell. So
free Mike Chappell
for joining.
Thank you guys. Bye, Tammy. Thank you.
Bye.